is our proclamations, and we do have one proclamation today with the Council and Executive designating July 31st to August 6, 2026 as Paddle to Nisqually Week in Pierce County, and I'd like to welcome and invite the following individuals to the podium as Vice Chair Herrera reads this into the record. We have Andrew Strobel, who's an executive from the Executive's Office and working with our tribal nations, and Teddy Simpson from the Puyallup Tribe. If you'd like to come to the podium, and let me turn on your mic. That'll make it work a lot better. There you go.
All right. Thank you, Chair. A proclamation of the Pierce County Council and Executive designating July 31st through August 6, 2026 as Paddle to Nisqually Week in Pierce County. Whereas many Coast Salish people rely on waterways to travel for trade, fishing, hunting, resource gathering, ceremonies, and to visit relatives, much as people travel by roads today, and that's why these waterways are often referred to as ancestral waterways. And whereas tribal canoes will travel the traditional highways of their ancestors to the Nisqually Indian Tribe for the 2026 Canoe Journey, Paddle to Nisqually Medicine Creek Potlatch, held from July 31st to August 6, 2026, marking the first time in 10 years that the Nisqually Tribe has hosted the Canoe Journey. And whereas canoe families from the Canadian First Nations from across the Pacific Northwest registered for the journey, completing travel along the ancestral waterways of Puget Sound before arriving at Sequalitchew Beach on the Nisqually lands in DuPont on July 31st, 2026. And whereas this year's canoe journey carries the name People of the River, People of the Grass, Squalipubs, honoring the Nisqually Tribe's deep and enduring connection to the Nisqually River and its watershed, and celebrating the revival of cultural practices from carving and cedar weaving to gifting ceremonies and traditional songs passed down and renewed through generations of tribal families. And whereas tribal canoe journeys have become a vital monumental event for Native American families to continue their culture and to pass on traditional knowledge and canoe teachings to younger generations while bringing awareness to the importance of protecting and preserving the fish, lands, and the waters. And whereas the tribal canoe journey reminds us that the water is a powerful medicine and a sacred, life-giving force that sustains, heals, and protects us. And it is a journey of hope, honor, and hospitality, where relationships are strengthened, family ties are renewed, and traditions continue strong and true. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this 4th day of August 2026 by the Pierce County Council and Executive that July 31st through August 6, 2026 is hereby designated Paddle to Nisqually Week in Pierce County, Washington. And community members and organizations are encouraged to celebrate the enduring spirit of the Coast Salish canoe families, committing to the shared stewardship of the sacred ancestral lands and waters.
Let's give them a hand. So thank you for being here. We will start with our tribal elder.
Knows that much.
My name is Teddy W. Simpson. I am a Puyallup Tribe elder, and I am honored and humbled to be standing here today in front of you people. This is quite an honor that you guys would recognize our tribal canoe journeys. The canoe journeys follow the old trade routes by the ancestors and the Salish and coastal tribes for trading. Upon the arrival of the traders and the settlers, these were used less. Then in the last 40 years, they have started to be revived. The journey is a connection to our cultural past. The journey is a cultural and spiritual awakening to our youth and adults. Each stop along the way of all the various tribes that are involved, a paddler from a canoe will ask permission to come ashore, and the host tribe on shore will grant them permission to come and eat a meal, dance, and share a few stories, and then leave the next day. The wayward youth have taken this journey and returned changed, productive members of tribes. One such man was running the streets of the east side of Tacoma and not going to school. He went on the canoe journey, he's returned, and 30 years later, he has kids in college and he is a productive working member of the Puyallup tribe. Another such youth took the journey, he came back, and he is the gentleman that carved the welcoming woman that's just a few blocks down the street.
Peterson.
I cannot speak about the other tribes or canoe families from the 100 canoes that took part in this journey this year. But the stories are there of how members have been changed on this. And I wish to thank each one of you for the recognition and this proclamation that gives the canoe journeys the knowledge of what has happened. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council, Andrew Strobel, Tribal and Regional Affairs for the Executive Mellow. I want to thank you for bringing this proclamation forward today. Last Friday, Executive Mellow and I were able to go down to Sequalitchew Beach, and we were greeted by Councilmember Levy from the Nisqually Tribe. We were there to see the first canoes come ashore, and of particular note that I want to bring up is it was very interesting to see the relationship that the tribe had with the city of DuPont to put this event on. It was right in the city of DuPont City Hall, where they had a tribal elders section to watch the event. It was pretty treacherous to get down to the trail and to the beach from where the events were taking place. And I just want to speak to that as what the relationship between two governments can achieve in such a monumental event. My elder, Mr. Simpson, outlined the healing aspects of this journey and what it provides to the people who paddle during the journey. Something of note as well is that the Nisqually Tribe has called this the Medicine Creek Potlatch journey, and potlatches historically were very significant events that were banned upon contact with tribes. And so to bring back that culture, to bring that event back into place and to celebrate that with other tribes and other indigenous people is a very important milestone, I think, for how tribes have been able to revitalize and replenish their culture here locally. I want to notice outside of the 100 plus canoe families that came to this event that some stretched as far as coming from Taiwan and Guam and northern Canada, obviously not paddling from, across the Pacific Ocean, but to participate in such a monumental event. And there's been, in past journeys, indigenous people from even Africa or the East Coast, or South America. So the celebration of culture is of note to see. I encourage any member of the public to come to their events that are taking place now near the Redwood Casino, and their tribal administration area is where the protocol dances are taking place right now. But just wanted to report that the Nisqually are running a very successful event, and it is I wish them well in their continuing this fabulous journey. Thank you.
Well, thank you both for being here. I'm going to see if there's comments, and I don't know if you want to go first or last,
Sure,
Vice Chair. First? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I brought this forward because the Canoe Journey's been around for a minute, and it's grown quite a bit. It had a little pause during COVID. I've participated in many. I was at the 2016 Paladin Nisqually and many others. But I've seen how the Canoe Journey affects community and how you mentioned it before, especially for youth, especially for even the elders who had to worry about getting a job and just making ends meet so nobody could exercise their culture. And now that the tribes are in better situation with economic development of their own, they can start devoting some time of getting back to their culture. You mentioned a little bit about the potlatch that was banned some time ago. The potlatch is one of the most powerful things in the Native American community. It's almost like Christmas compared to it. You know, there's many aspects to it, but one of them is giving things away. And the person who gives the most away is the one who has the highest honor. And it kind of works out in the end because everybody gets something. And people work really hard to acquire things to give them away to other folks. I got to actually pull on a canoe some years ago in 2022. They didn't have a full-blown canoe journey, but they had smaller ones across the Puget Sound. And I got to pull with the Chief Flesheye canoe. I actually got to be in the canoe throughout the San Juan Islands and up to Lummi Nation. And in between pulling, because you'd be on the water almost all day, you'd stop into an area, ask for permission, and then, like you said, there'd be hospitality from the host tribe or peoples of the area. They'd feed you, stories were shared, songs were shared, and when night fell, we'd have circle time, which would be around just basically a campfire, and people would just talk. And it'd be amazing that you'd hear some of these kids would like totally, through their culture, through being in the Puget Sound, they were just in a place to let things out. And you saw the healing in real time around a campfire, releasing the bad stuff into the sky. It's almost just like church almost, but it's a full body experience type thing. And like you said, some of the testimony that Teddy talked about how folks were changed by the canoe journey. That is a real thing. And also, I'd also say is that these canoe journeys and just powwows in general across the Pacific Northwest, the Native people here aren't stingy. They invite everybody from all cultures. Doesn't matter where you come from or where you're from. They'll share their culture with you. You can come down there and eat their food. You can come down there and see their dances and hear their songs and be part of it. So I just thought it was really important to highlight this event that happens every year. You know, the Pacific Northwest has 29 registered tribes, and many Native American people here have different tribal cultures, and this is one way that they share together. So they're a pillar in the community. They've always been here, they'll always be here, and I think we should really pay attention in sometimes, and this helps us take a look at that. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your comments and for bringing this forward. Any additional comments from colleagues? Well, I will add, I took the time, because the landing was in DuPont, which is my district, so took the time to go down and witness this. It was a beautiful day and a beautiful ceremony, and the amount of logistics for just what I was watching at I guess the last stop, not officially, they took the canoes out a little bit further down, but just the logistics alone and thinking about how this is something that happened long before we had cell phones or email or anything, and it just happened, and it was just mind-blowing and really beautiful. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and being here to accept this. I know we've made multiple copies to try and send them to some of our tribal members across the region that did this work. We are